Hi guys, welcome to my channel, Allie's Book Nook. Today I'm going to be sharing with you what I've been reading for the past month or so and my thoughts on those books. So, even though I've been pretty heavy on the thrillers so far this month, or since I met with you last, I only have one thriller, and it's the first book I read, which is The Housemaid is Watching by Freida McFadden. I only read this on my Kindle when it was released because I have a free trial for Kindle Unlimited, which is going to be running out soon. But I think this was released around the 20th of June or so. And this is the third book in a series. So The Housemaid is the first book, and then The Housemaid's Secret, and then this is the third book, The Housemaid is Watching. Off the bat, I will tell you I gave this 3 stars. It was okay. But it wasn't as good as the first two. So the first one was amazing. I loved it. 5-star read. The second one was a 4-star, and this one was a 3-star. And Freida even makes kind of a joke, I guess, to her, a self-deprecating joke in here about there's some mention that a character makes of a third book in a series not being as good. And I thought that was kind of funny. But anyway, this follows Millie. So Millie is a housemaid in the first 2 books. And then in the third one, this one, she is now a social worker. And her husband, Enzo, who's also in the first 2 books, they now have just bought a house and they have 2 kids. And so basically there's some weird stuff going on in their neighborhood. They have some neighbors next door to them, which the wife is very unpleasant, and then they have neighbors across the street that the lady is very nosy. And it was pretty slow going. I swear the first half of the book was her Millie just talking about how hot her husband Enzo was. And that got a little bit old. And then stuff really didn't start happening until maybe like 60% into the book. And I don't really want to give away what happens, but there is a murder, and then you're trying to figure out who did it. And she's trying to figure out who did it. And in the past books, I don't know. She's more, I guess, domesticated in this book, domestic housewife kind of thing, versus having like an active role in what's going on in the plot. She's kind of a bystander trying to figure stuff out. So it wasn't bad, but yeah, I just didn't enjoy it as much as the first 2, and I felt like the writing style, I don't know. It was a little immature, I guess. I know that sounds bad, but I didn't think it was the most well-written book. And I know these aren't meant to be like deep philosophical books. This is like a popcorn thriller, something that's fun but doesn't have a lot of substance, and that's what this was. So I liked it. I didn't love it. I do plan on reading more Freida McFadden in the future, but yeah, I have the first 2 in hard copy. If I see this one like secondhand somewhere, I might pick it up just so I have the full trilogy, but I wouldn't go out and buy it new. So I'm glad that I got to read it for free on my Kindle. I would recommend reading them in order. This one was more character driven, I guess, than plot driven with the other ones. You hear more about Millie and Enzo and those characters than in the other ones, but I would recommend reading them in order, even though they're different plots. Okay, so that was the first book I read. 3 stars, maybe 3.25. Yeah. That was the only one I read on Kindle. Where can I put that? I have no place to set stuff. Okay. The next book I have here is Such a Fun Age by Kiley Reid, I think is how you say her name. I picked this up at Goodwill, And then I also listened to it on the Audible book through Libby. And this was good. I would also give this a solid 3 stars. Um, it says, what happens when you do the right thing for the wrong person? So it's alternating stories between this lady named Alix. I think that's how she chooses to pronounce it. Alix, yeah, Chamberlain, and Amira. So this lady Alix, it says she is a woman who gets what she wants and has made a living showing other women how to do the same. So she's shocked when her babysitter, Amira Tucker, is confronted while watching the Chamberlain's toddler one night in the aisles of their high-end supermarket. The store's security guard, seeing a young black woman out late with a white child, accuses Amira of kidnapping. A small crowd gathers, bystander films everything, and Amira is furiously humiliated. Alix resolves to make things right, but Amira herself is aimless, broke, and wary of Alix's desire to help. At 25, she's about to lose her health insurance and has no idea what to do with her life. When the video of Amira unearths from someone from Alix's past, both women find themselves on a crash course that will upend everything they think they know about themselves and each other. So this was a good book. I think that, it says on here, reconstructs a plot so beautifully intricate and real, fascinating. Readers will forget it's also full of tough questions about race, class, and identity. And it was, but it was also written in a way that was kind of lighthearted and humorous, and but it did tackle some of those tough topics, and so I appreciated that. I think this was written in 2017. I think so. It was like before like BLM was really big and all of that stuff. I think that's when this was written. 2019. So probably, maybe it was written right around that same time. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. This is a Reese Book Club book. So basically, Amira is the babysitter slash nanny for this Alix lady, and Alix is always trying to be like really progressive and politically correct and everything like that. Well, she has some demons in her past that unwittingly get dug up through Amira and her relationships that she has, and they kind of all collide together. And at first I was like, I didn't really think either character was like a bad person, but then some stuff happened and I really began to dislike Alix. And at the end, I was definitely not rooting for her and what she wanted. And Amira was a very likable character throughout the whole book. So this was a good book. It was entertaining. I liked the way that it addressed real life racial issues without being like cringy or anything like that. And yeah, I would recommend this book. So I also really like the artwork on the cover. I think that's fun. So yeah, that was a 3-star book for me. Okay, the next book I have here is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. So I gave this book 5 stars. Okay, this was a really good book. My friend recommended this to me. She went camping for a weekend and she read it over the weekend. And she's like, you have to read this book. It's so good. There's a movie coming out August 9th. And she's like, I want to go to it with you, but you got to read the book first. So I was like, okay. So Colleen Hoover, I have read one of her books, Verity, and I really liked Verity, but that's a thriller. Okay. And I was like, oh, she writes love stories, romance. I didn't really think I liked that type of book, romances, but I never gave it a shot, really. And so I was like, well, I don't know if I do. So let me give it a try. This was so good. And I am going to be reading more of her books, and I have read more of her books that we'll talk about here in a second. But so yeah, I'm really glad that I think she was a good way to introduce me to this genre. There are other books out there that sound fun in this genre, but I've just never really given it a try. But it was more than just a love story. It also tackled issues that I had no idea that were going to be so prominent in this book, like domestic violence. So this is about a girl named Lily, and when she's a teenager, she falls in love with this boy named Atlas, and he is homeless, and he actually lives in this like abandoned house next to her. And they fall in love, and he's such a good guy. Like, you just instantly love him. He has such a good heart. And he's like 3 years older than her, but they fall in love and all that. And then her dad finds out, and her dad is abusive to her mom, and so he doesn't handle that well. Atlas says he's going to go join the military. He's gone. Lily grows up, and she finds this guy named Ryle. And Ryle is a neurosurgeon, or about to be a neurosurgeon. I think he's doing his residency in this book when they meet. And so she's in her early 20s. He's in his later 20s, Ryle is. And they meet, and it's kind of a whirlwind romance. He's very infatuated with her. Things move very fast. They get married within like 6 months. I hope I'm not giving away too many spoilers. But I'm just going to tell you guys about it without hopefully giving away too much. Anyway, turns out Ryle is not such a great guy. And some of the issues that she saw growing up with her dad and the way he treated her mom start to appear in her relationship with Ryle. And then Atlas randomly shows back up in her life, an unplanned encounter, and she starts to question, her current situation. So as questions about her new relationship overwhelm her, so do thoughts of Atlas Corrigan, her first love, and a link to the past she left behind. He was her kindred spirit, her protector. When Atlas suddenly reappears, everything Lily has built with Ryle is threatened. Okay, so I didn't really give anything away that wasn't really on the back cover. So it says, with this bold and deeply personal novel, Colleen Hoover delivers a heart-wrenching story that breaks exciting new ground for her as a writer. It's unforgettable tale of love that comes at the ultimate price. So the reason they say it's a personal novel, she kind of based it on her mom's experience with her dad when she was younger. And some of the, there is a trigger warning here for domestic violence. There's some scenes in here that are kind of hard to read, but she based them on actual scenes that happened with her parents and how her mom was able to break out of that cycle and everything. So it was really good. Yeah, if there is trigger warnings for domestic violence, and there is some mature sexual content. I wouldn't call it like really smutty or anything. Maybe a little bit, but not too bad, not as much as I thought there might be. But yeah, it was more layered than I had expected. It was a really good storyline. I loved it. I read through it in a few days. And then as soon as I was done reading this, I raced down to Walmart and got the sequel called It Starts With Us. So the first one is called It Ends With Us. 5 stars, highly recommend. The second one is called It Starts With Us. And this was really good. I gave this 4 stars just because it wasn't quite as good as the first one. It was a little slower paced, and Colleen even says in here, I think she has an intro in here, and she says, it says, Dear reader, this book is a sequel to It Ends With Us, begins right where the first book concluded. So she says, for the best experience, read the first book first. And she said she never imagined writing a sequel, but fans really wanted to know what happened with Lily and Atlas. We want to hear more of what happened. Did it work out with them? Did anything ever become of them? Like, what happened in their lives after that book ended? So this literally picks up right where that one left off. And she says in here, okay, this novel was written as a thank you for the tremendous support, and because of that, I wanted to deliver a much lighter experience. Lily and Atlas deserve it. I hope you enjoy your journey. And they do. That book, the first book, there was a lot of drama going on there, and they really do deserve a more lighthearted experience. And so that's what this book was. I think there was enough going on to write another book. I don't think she could have really covered their experience like in an epilogue, but it was a little bit drawn out at times, but I still really enjoyed it. So basically, it says stuff on the back here. I almost wouldn't recommend even reading the back of it if you're going to read the first one. Kind of just go into this one blind, but it is worth rereading. And the characters that I was rooting for, which was Lily and Atlas, 100% Team Atlas. I had to find out what was going on with him. And yeah, this was really good to just see how everything turned out. I'm sorry for my nails being all mismatched. My daughter painted them for the 4th and it's starting to come off. Okay. Oops. Told you I didn't have any place to put those books. Okay. So I have 2 more books that I have finished this month or so since we met last, and they're actually young adult like sci-fi dystopian books, but so good. Reading them with my daughter, and I breezed through them quite a bit quicker than she did. You know, it's a younger reading level, and I also, for the second one, had the audiobook. So anyway, this is a series. There's 4 books, and we are going to read all of them. At least I am. The first one is called The City of Ember by Jeanne Duprow. I'm not sure how you say that. But yeah, there's 4 books in the series. I've wanted to read this book like since I was in high school. This book came out 2003. And I've wanted to read it since then. And I actually had a receipt in here. I picked this book up at my local used bookstore in 2015, and I just now read it in 2024. It took me 9 years after I bought it to read it, but it was really good. So basically it takes place about 200 years in the future. There's some cataclysmic event that happens where they call them the founders, build this underground city called the City of Ember. And the only people that they send in to live in the City of Ember are the very old and babies. And so that way eventually people will not remember or know about life above ground. So here we are over 200 years later. The city was only meant to be sustainable for about 200 years, and then people were supposed to come above ground. Well, communication was lost in terms of knowing how to come above ground, all that. Here they are. I think it's like 250 years later. Things are kind of starting to deteriorate, and they have no knowledge that there's any world above ground at all. So they kind of live in this utilitarian government. I'm not describing that very well, but yeah, things are all very like rigid and planned out. It kind of remind me a little bit of The Giver. If you've read The Giver, where like in this book, when you're, I think, 12 or 13, you're assigned your job to go do, and that's kind of how it is when in The Giver too. But everyone has their job to help the city run and function, and they do have light electricity down there that's run by a generator from a river, but that is starting to deteriorate as well. So anyway, this girl named Lina Mayfleet, she and Dune Harrow, they're like the main characters, this boy and girl, they're about 13 years old. She finds this message that well, things are getting worse and worse in the city. It leads to her to believe that there is maybe something outside of the City of Ember, and possibly instructions on how to get outside of the City of Ember. So I don't want to give away like how that all comes together, but her and Dune do end up leaving the city of Ember at the very end of this book, going above ground. And that is where this book starts out, The People of Sparks. So City of Ember, my daughter read the hard copy. I read it on my Kindle through Libby, the Libby app. This one, the second one, People of Sparks, she was still on the first one. So I read the hard copy, but also listened to the audio. And the audio was really good. I liked how they had, oh, I don't think I said how many stars I gave that. I would give that 5 stars. City of Sparks. City of Ember. It was really good. That was 5 stars. This was 4 stars. But I liked the audio. There were certain scenes where it would have like background noise, like crickets or people like in a market talking in the background, stuff like that. That I thought was kind of fun. And I liked the narrator too. So anyway, this book, they come above ground and they really have no idea about anything in terms of life above ground. So like this plant coming out of the ground, Lena doesn't know what a tree is, and she doesn't know that there's different kinds of trees. So that's kind of interesting. And then you hear little pieces of like, you get to see what life is like on Earth after a big cataclysmic event. So they find this village of people when they come up out of the city of Ember, and the people welcome the Emberites, but they have to learn how to do everything, how to farm, how to do everything. And this is in the future, post-apocalyptic, where they don't have power above ground or anything like that. And so like some of their transportation, they have bicycles, which they've never seen below, but they also have like trucks where the front of the truck is all that's left and it's pulled by oxen. Just kind of cool stuff like that. I really like post-apocalyptic stories. I used to be really into like sci-fi and that type of stuff, and I have a whole section here in my library, those type of books. So I haven't read any of that genre for a while, so it was fun to go back and read that and just hear like what this author thought that life would be like. They don't really get into what happened other than it was like a war. And while there was a war, there was a few different major diseases that really wiped out a lot of the population. And this book, I gave it 4 stars because it wasn't quite as good as the first book, which is pretty normal, like with The Housemaid, but some of the stuff was like, she had some pretty simplistic views on war. She talks about war in here, and it's like, war is bad and stuff. But I mean, this book's written for, middle schoolers. And so you wouldn't expect it to be very deep, political theories in here or anything. But it was really good. And so the third, I gave this 4 stars, and I almost gave it 5 stars, but then I went back and gave it 4 stars because I was like, it wasn't quite as good. Some of the stuff was a little simplistic, but yeah. The third book in this series is the prequel to how did it all happen? How did this big event happen that wiped out most of humanity? And so I am going to read that. I actually went and picked that up for my local used bookstore, but I have it on hold for the audiobook through Libby. So I'm waiting. I think I have about a 2-week wait on that, and then I'll be reading that. And then the fourth one, I'm not sure. I think that picks back up with these two, Lena and Dune, but I plan on reading the whole series. And my daughter really liked it too. She gave that one, I think she gave it a 4.5 out of 5. And she's not a big reader, but towards the end, she was like staying up to read it and stuff. And so I love to see that. And she's getting into this one. I've been done with this one for about a week and a half or so, and she's on page 90, but she doesn't read it as much as I do. But anyway, those are the books that I have gotten through since we chatted last. I think I had a pretty good lineup. Let me see. If I had to pick a favorite, Probably, well, City of Ember is a close second, but probably it ends with us. Surprisingly good. So I'm excited to see the movie, see how that compares. It has Blake Lively in it playing Lily, so I think that'll be good. But this is my favorite book this month. My least favorite, I hate to say it, but probably the Housemaid book, just because it was now I don't even remember that The Housemaid is Watching. I guess I had high hopes for it, being I loved the other books in the series, and it just didn't really meet the mark for me. But I didn't dislike it. So that is what I've been reading since we met last. I'm currently reading Remarkably Bright Creatures, which is really, really good so far. I'm about 82% through with that book, so I will let you guys know my thoughts on that one next time we meet. Let me know what you've been reading this last month or so, or what summer reads you have enjoyed. Your favorite book that you've read recently, maybe a flop that you've read recently, and have you read any of these books? What are your thoughts on them? And if you've read It Ends With Us, are you going to watch the movie as well? Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye, guys.